Welcome to Dissolving Doubts with Dr. Moses Topher. Dr. Moses Topher, can you please explain further? The last video you were explaining that we are not going to resurrect with these physical bodies. Can you explain further about this issue?
Thank you. Now let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 35 to 44. In this scripture, Apostle Paul was actually answering this question because the believers were also confused. They didn't know with which bodies are we going to resurrect. But some men will say, how are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Though fool. Now Apostle Paul is saying, if you ask this question, that with which bodies are we going to resurrect, you are a fool. He is not insulting the church. A fool is somebody who has no knowledge of Christ. So he is simply saying that you have no knowledge of the doctrine of Christ, which means that believers should not ask such a question. This is a basic question. But what troubles me is that in the very scripture where Apostle Paul is addressing this question, people are actually using that same scripture to confuse themselves. Let's proceed, because they actually use this scripture to say that these are the physical bodies are the ones that are going to resurrect. Though fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be. This is the key now. Paul is saying that the body that you sow, the word sowing is there, is referring to burial. So he's saying what you sow is not what shall be. Remember, he's addressing the question that with which bodies are we going to resurrect. So he's saying the body that is buried is not the one that is going to resurrect. And that which thou sowest not that body that shall be. In other words, that shall resurrect. But bare grain it may chance of wheat or of some other grain. But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, and he goes on that. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. Now, celestial, it means heavenly. Terrestrial, it means earthly or earthy. So he's saying there are two types of bodies. There are bodies that belong to the earth. There are bodies that belong to heaven. So this body is a terrestrial body. The bodies with which we resurrect are celestial bodies. That's why previously we read the scripture where he said that we know that if this earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God eternal in the heavens. Those are the celestial bodies with which we are going to resurrect. Now, I want to jump where he says, so also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. So this is where the confusion is, because he's appearing to say that this body is sown in corruption and it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in weakness and it is raised in power. This is not what he is saying. Remember, he is already addressed that the one that is sown is not the one that shall be. So what he is simply saying is, he is comparing this one which is sown and the one that is already in heaven. This one is corrupt. That's why flesh and blood cannot inherit heaven. The one which is in heaven, which is spiritual, is holy. It is powerful. This one is weak. That is what he is saying. But it is appearing as if he is saying that it is sown as a weak body, then it is raised as a powerful body, appearing to imply that it is this same body that is going to resurrect. That is not what he is saying. Remember that scriptures are mysteries. That's why Jesus said To you it is given to understand scriptures, but unto them it is not given. Because it is amazing that the very scripture where Apostle Paul is actually saying these are not the bodies that are resurrect, we interpret it to say, no, he is saying that these bodies are going to resurrect. No, marangwanda haamuki vadikani. Marangwanda kana adzoka kuguva, atodzoka kuguva. Kune miviri iri kudenga. Kana uri munhu anotenda, izvezvi kutaura kudai, muviri wako unotoriko kudenga. Musi wejudgement, musi wekutongwa, ndo spirit yako inondopinda mumuviri iwoyo wagara uriko kudenga. Usina kuvakwa nemaoko sezvakaitwa uyu wenyama paGenesis chapter 2 verse 7. Dissolving Doubts with Drs. Moses Toffa and Rejoice Makauti. God bless you.